So I was just upstairs and I was watching a Facebook video about a woman who was doing music, and she was young. It seemed like, if I remember, she was in her early 20s, and I just got the feeling like she had done drugs for years. Growing up in a troubled neighborhood and such. I wish I remember her name, but I can't. And the thought came to me, I don't have any of that. I was not brought up in a troubled neighborhood, and I wasn't on drugs, and I've had my fair share of trials, but thankfully that was never one of them. And she was. She had just done music her whole life, and when I was young, I got into corporate America. I was good at programming computers. It came naturally to me, and in the late '90s, I started with the web, and just kind of grew with it, and that's where I stuck. I ended up programming computers for 15 years. I was a senior level web developer, back end database architect for about 5 or 6 years. I was senior level. I was doing it. I had a regular 9 to 5, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And that always bothered me. I would go to work, and I loved the camaraderie, loved the people I worked with, made great associations and connections with some really, really good people. But at the end of the day, it was a job. It was a good job that happened to become a career. So I was born also with music in me. When I was 5 years old, no, it was later than that. I was probably 6 or 7 or 8. I don't know. Just being real. Anyway, we were over at my aunt's house, and I played Mary Had a Little Lamb on their piano, and I didn't have any piano experience, and my parents were like, did you teach him that? No, did you teach him that? And I don't know, I remember doing it, but I didn't remember it being any crazy thing. And then later on, probably a few days later, my mom asked me if I wanted piano lessons, and I said sure, and so I took piano lessons, and I loved it. No, I liked it. Didn't love it. And then when I was when I was 14, I think I broke my parents down, and they broke down and bought me my first drum kit. It was a Thomas Swing Star, and I remember the exact feeling that I had when I was allowed to play it the first time, when the barriers were brought down, and I walked into that bedroom, and that was the day. And my kit was there. And I played and played and played and played and played and played and played. I already knew how to play it. Never had a lesson in my life, but I watched enough videos, and the hi-hat, the snare, and the kick, and that was that. And I loved it. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. For some reason, I never took lessons. Just kind of always was there. Practiced and played along with music that I loved, and just continued growing with it. Had a couple of opportunities to join bands, but it never felt right. That voice inside me just said, "No, you'll regret it if you do this." And I don't know why, but but I didn't. I ended up not joining any of those bands, and found my way in the corporate world, as I was talking about earlier, and ended up programming until 2009, and in 2001 I bought my first microphone, and I really wanted to figure out how to record drums, and didn't know at the time that I was trying to record the most difficult instrument to record by a long shot, and so figured out how to do that, and collaborated with some people online, and they gave me some tips. Found a great forum, homerecording.com. I don't know how it is now, but there was a guy named Greg L. I don't know anything about him, but he was willing to give out all sorts of information about how to record drums, and was very blunt as far as his advice on mixes that you would send, and I'm really grateful for that, because I threw the offensive stuff out and grabbed onto the advice, and improved quite dramatically over the next months when I was collaborating with that. But then 2009 comes around, and I get my first client in the studio, and found out, holy cow, I'm pretty good at this, and it's really fun. And at the time I'd been programming computers for a number of years, and that's just where I was going, was programming computers. And then from 2009 to 2011, it got to the point where I was working 2 full-time jobs, the 9 to 5 programming, and then I'd come home and do studio work from 7 p.m. till midnight or later. And at the time I was married with children, and I still am. I married my best friend. Hope I stay with her forever. She's awesome. But so my wife was like, "Hey, I never see you. One of them's got to go," and we prayed and felt very strongly that the studio was the direction that we needed to go. So we built this studio I'm in now that you've seen in all of my videos, and decided, we're all in. So I quit programming in 2013 and have been doing studio work ever since. But I'm quite passionate about it. I love it. I love getting up every day and busting my butt. Let me tell you, I have worked harder by a long shot, and all of my previous bosses, if they're watching this, probably won't like to hear this, but I work harder in the studio for drastically less money than I ever did programming. When I was programming, I was interested in doing the best I could to get by. I was never driven to be the best programmer I could possibly be. With studio work and music, there's something in me that makes me want to do the best that I possibly can. How can I be the best that I've ever been today? And I love it. It's invigorating. It's driving. It's purposeful. The problem is it doesn't make much money. And studio work, the reason I started doing the videos is because the studio work is not it. It's about staying the same. It's not growing. And to make ends meet, there had to be another way. So I started doing music videos. It was terrifying. The first video I did was the Peanuts. The Peanuts movie, not movie. What am I thinking? The Peanuts theme song, the Linus and Lucy. I'd practiced that on the drums for a while, and was going to do just a drum cover of it. And then I thought, just do a full cover. Do everything. You know how to play piano. You're trying to learn how to play guitar, and bass and such. And I've been doing production work since about 2007, 2006, 2007. I started getting serious about learning the ins and outs of studio work, so I've got plenty of knowledge of how to make things work, and so I did it, and I loved it, and the reaction was good. And so then the next week, I thought, man, I've got to do it. I've got to do this weekly. I've got enough time that I could crank one of these out every week. Except singing. I've been singing in choirs my whole life, but I have never considered myself, still don't. It still is is scary. Not terrifying, but scary. But man, when I had to find a cover to do where I would sing, and I chose "Every Breath You Take" by the Police. That was my second one, and I was terrified. I was like, how do I'm not gonna be able to hide behind other voices. I'm gonna just whatever comes out. So I did it, and it turned out all right. I thought that didn't turn out half bad, but I still don't like my voice very much, and so anyway, I just kept going, and I thought, all right, this is it, and I guess my point is I don't have a story like the down and out and the drug addict and that aspect, and I thought when I was watching the story of this young lady, I thought, man, maybe if I would have gone down that route, and I'm not. I mean, this is sounding absurd, and I realize how absurd it sounds, but maybe if I had gone down that road, then making money with music would be easier for some weird reason. Because right now, doing the studio, doing the weekly videos, we need that to happen. Figuring out how to make music good enough that people are willing to pay for it is just really hard. Because people don't pay for music anymore. They go on YouTube and they watch the videos and listen to it, and then they stream it on Spotify and Google Music and iTunes, and streaming it, the artists make nothing. People like me, there's no way I could make enough content fast enough to make enough money to make ends meet with Spotify. It's ridiculous how little YouTube gives you, and how little Spotify and Google Play and Pandora. It's ridiculous how little the artist makes, unless you're big, unless you've got a following of if you've got, I don't know, 1,500 or 2,000 diehard super fans who are willing to buy everything that you do, or willing to subscribe to your Patreon account, and buy T-shirts and albums and such. People in this position make very little money, and so that's kind of my story. I just wanted to lay out why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've always felt driven to do music, and the heart of it all is I couldn't live my life wondering what if. I just couldn't. Some people are content, and that's okay. It's totally fine for these people, but for me, I could not be content programming computers, feeling like there was something else inside me without exploring it. And something in me drove me to take the dive. And so far for the last 4.5 years, we've been able to make ends meet. I've had to take programming jobs on the side here and there. I'm so grateful for them. Doing this every week, I'm going to see if I can get to the point where I can do a video every week and do studio work, and have that be able to make ends meet. And we'll see where that goes. Huge shout out to my patrons, and I should have got a list. Hold on, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to see if I can pause this. Okay, I think this is going. I'm glad I was able to pause that. Sorry, sorry. I hope I'm in frame and everything, but thank you. I've got to publicly thank the people who have signed up to be my patrons through Patreon. I've explained it before, and man, it's the hardest thing to let people know how important it is that music be something that has value without begging. because nobody. I mean, nobody. If I came out and said, you know what, my family's in dire straits, which we really aren't. We're blessed beyond measure, and asked for help. I'm sure a tidal wave of people would come in, but that dies. You know, the people who aren't interested enough in the music to pay for it, subscribing to Patreon wouldn't seem right. But there are those. I'm confident there are those who are watching who don't even realize how musicians struggle. And I've been doing studio work like full time for 4.5 years now. And the lion's share of people who come in here to record are people who are pouring their heart and soul into their music, and never see any I don't know. There's value in it, but being able to do it and be supported through monetary means is it's worth something, you know. Programming computers, I made boatloads more money, but and that's business, and I get that. But through being an artist, you work a lot harder for a lot less. But anyway, huge thank you to Trina Barkle. She was my first patron when I started Patreon. I had no idea what I was doing, and it was about 2 weeks, and my phone popped up on my phone. I'm using it to record this, but I popped up on my phone. Trina Barkle has become a patron, and both me and my wife, we didn't know what to do. We were like, oh my gosh, this could work. Trina, thank you. Huge hugs. Blaine Jones, my cousin, you're awesome. Awesome. Jessica Sellers, I know it means a lot to me, and that you chose to do that. Thank you, Jessica. Johnny K, man, you're awesome. You're awesome. He's a fellow musician. I know he's in it too. My cousin Carrie Waymont? No, Carrie Esslinger. Thank you so much, Carrie. It was really, really cool and not surprising to see you hop on board. I appreciate it so much. My brother Ryan, thank you. It's so cool to see people who are not rich, who are going through their own financial struggles, support this endeavor. Thank you. David Lee, my neighbor, who lives 3 houses down. So cool. Thanks for hopping on, man. And John Young. I don't know this person. This is the first person I've never met. He joined, subscribed a couple days ago for $7. There's the $1 tier, $2 tier, and $5 tier, and he's giving $7. So, John, whoever you are, thank you so much. And those are the patrons I've got right now. Those are our little group. I want to build a community of patrons and build a community that is in this. And I want to provide content that is worth it, that is valuable. I've seen it done, and I know I can do it with your help. So that's why I'm doing this. I wanted to give. This is a long vlog. I'm so sorry. This is a lot of talking, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Make it great, truly. It's in all of us to make it great.